This is the left sideline right glute max in left hip extension activity. The purpose of this activity is to obviously recruit the right glute, but more importantly, to create a turn of the pelvis towards the left side. So to set up for this activity, we want to be in this side lying position with a towel underneath our left low ribs. It should be underneath the ribs, but not underneath the hips. So this portion of your hip should still be able to lay flat on the ground. It's really resting right about here. Now, we want to make sure that the left knee is in relatively full hip extension, meaning that the knee is in line with the hip, which is in line with the shoulder. And if you don't have full extension on that back left hip, or it feels kind of awkward, what you can do is just bring it a little bit forward, and that's not the end of the world, but just work within the limits of the hip extension you have without arching your low back. So the last thing we want to think about is keeping this right knee bent at a 90-degree angle and also the right hip bent at a 90-degree angle. So 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here. And then that right foot is pressing up against the wall there. Beautiful. Now, step one is give yourself a nice slight tuck of the hips. Very nice. Now, Trevor, what I want you to do is feel your knuckle of your big toe right here and also your inner heel and keep your whole foot flat despite that. Good. Now I want you to press into the wall with that, and I want you to push your right knee forward, keeping your hips tucked, and then push your right knee up towards the ceiling. Good, right there. He should feel his lower right glute fibers. Not a lot of upper as much as the lower ones. Now, what he wants to do is, Trevor, reach your right arm forward, very nice, and then exhale through your mouth as if you're fogging a glass. Get all that air out, all that air out, all that air out, good. He should feel his left bottom side abs engage right here because that towel is crunching him slightly to that side. Hold that compression in your left obliques as you inhale through your nose. You should feel all this right side expand. Good. So when he's reaching with that right hand, it's keeping the ribs back, keeping that stack. He shouldn't be extending. He should be nice and stacked with the right hand reaching like so. Looks really nice. Now, to summarize, we should be feeling the right lower glute, the left ab wall upon the exhale and holding that as we inhale, and this left hip should stay in extension. Sometimes people have a hard time feeling their lower right glute fibers, and usually this is just a cueing issue, and they need to think about pressing into certain parts of their foot a little bit differently. So if this is you, first make sure your hips are tucked. You don't want to over tuck, but just imagine that your hips are a bowl of water and you don't want to spill it out the front or the back too much. Just neutralize your hips. The other thing to think about is to make sure that you're pushing into the wall first with your inner right foot arch. That includes that inner heel and that big toe. It should feel like your arch is almost flattening out against that wall a little bit. Feel that first, just give a couple pushes in the wall. Don't even think about your right knee at first. Then once you do that, push that right knee forward slightly while maintaining that pressure into the wall, and then slowly lift up, but make sure you keep that foot contact the whole time. That should help you feel more right glute, and that should also allow you to create that reference with your right foot arch. So when your right foot arch is pressing into the ground, your right glute is going to work. The most common mistakes we see on this activity is a couple of things. The first and most common would be people overextend their low back as they try to reach this right knee forward. So while we do want that right knee to go forward and that right foot pressing into the wall, we don't want to do it so much to where we extend these ribs flare, and now he feels his low back instead of his right glute. We want to make sure we can stay tucked and stacked while still reaching the arm and also that knee forward. The other most common thing we see is that this right knee will not be bent at a 90-degree angle, so it'll be too far back, and then he's going to lose his heel as he reaches that forward, or it's going to be too far forward with the foot relative to the knee, so this foot's going to be way further on the wall, a little bit further forward there. And then if that's too far forward, a little bit more there, he's not going to be able to actually get that right knee forward, and it's going to just feel really awkward, and then he's more likely to extend through his low back here. So we want to make sure that it's nice and at 90 degrees right about there.